Well, good morning. There was a song out in the 1970s by a rock band named Styx. Any Styx fans in the room? And the song was called The Grand Illusion. Welcome to the Grand Illusion. And it referred to the glitziness of stardom and the appeal that that has. And the lyrics were assuring those of us who were not rock stars that it was not all it was cracked up to be. In fact, the lure of fame and fortune was a manufactured fantasy, a grand illusion. And I remember once reading that Jim Carrey, when he was interviewed, he said, "I wish everyone could experience being rich." No more board updates this morning. I wish everyone could experience being rich and famous so they would see it's not the answer to anything. So it's not what it looks to be. And it's different from the inside out. And so my talk title this morning is The Grand Illusion, but I'm not referencing stardom per se. I'm talking about the illusory shininess of life out there, the outer trappings. The greener on the other side kind of thinking. Looking for what we think we need out there, when really the star that we're pursuing is where? It's within us. So looking out there instead of in here. Last week we talked about synchronicities and how they can be breadcrumbs for us to follow in order to grow and develop into who we've come here to be. And those of you who were here last week or watched online, you were invited into watching for those breadcrumbs, paying attention to synchronicities and watching for evidence that it was happening and to keep track of it. How many of you did that? Some people did it. Awesome. Well, our exploration today is going to move from being on the search for hidden synchronicities in life to shifting our perception in order to see beyond the illusory appearance that may actually be getting in the way of finding those synchronistic events. So here's a question for you. Imagine that one night you were having a dream that you were being chased by a bear. And then the next night, you had a dream that you were being chased by 5 bears.
Oh my gosh.
Which night would you be more in danger? Neither one. They're both equally an illusion, even if they felt terrifyingly real. I mean, have you ever jolted awake from a nightmare and said, "Oh, thank goodness it was just a dream"? And yet, minutes before, you were experiencing something so real to you that it caused a fight or flight reaction in the body. Is that right? Yes. But, so what if all of the metaphorical bears that we're fearful of are equally an illusion, made up by the mind? A grand illusion, a dream. Can you imagine such a thing? In Hinduism, physical existence is called Maya, meaning illusion. And the Buddha awakened from it. He saw through the illusion. He saw that believing it was the cause of suffering. In the Toltec native tradition, they refer to this illusory world as the dreaming. The dreaming. And if any of you have read the 4 Agreements, which comes out of that, they provide you with a sort of a plan of how to awaken from that dream. In the Aboriginal world, their teachings, they teach that we are caught up in what they call dream time. And this is some Aboriginal art that is called dream time. So there's this sense of being asleep. In the book of Genesis, it says that Adam fell into a deep sleep. Nowhere does it say he woke up. You can look for it in there. It's not there. What if we're all still sleeping? You see. Ooh, yes. So if we look at all of these scriptural and mythological and indigenous stories, through a metaphysical eye, we see that there's a message for us on our spiritual journey, and it has to do with awakening. The Course in Miracles tells us we are caught up in a dream of separation, and its teaching for me is summed up with these words: nothing real can be threatened, nothing unreal exists. Herein lies the peace of God. Nothing real can be threatened, nothing unreal exists. There's sort of a Zen-ness to that, isn't there? And that statement can turn our life upside down. It can just turn our thinking upside down. Because when we look around, it seems that there is much that can be threatened. Our health, our bodies, our families, our homes, our jobs, lots of things. And if nothing unreal exists, then does that mean that all these things that can be threatened and that I believe are real are an illusion? What do you think? Are we all asleep? Because we seem to be awake, don't we? We're not comatose. Everybody here, I see all the eyes are open. We're here. And it feels very real, this physical existence. It feels very real. These bodies appear solid, but are they? No, they're not. Quantum science tells us that we are 99.99% empty space, and that what appears solid is in fact mostly emptiness. And according to this statement by the scientists from the Institute of Physics, if we removed all the empty space, the entire human race would fit into a sugar cube. It's the ultimate weight loss program. They also tell us that only 4% of the universe is solid, only 4%. The rest is made of dark matter. So can we trust our senses, what our senses are telling us? Because there's much happening, there's much unseen traveling under the surface, and things are happening all around us that we're unaware of. As a human species, we are not conscious at all of ultraviolet light waves and dog whistles and radio waves and electromagnetic field of the heart. Bless you. None of them are detectable by human senses, and yet they're very much in existence. And although we may not have the receptors to perceive them, these occurrences are as measurable and as real as the material and sensory objects that we can touch and feel. In fact, you may have heard the research that tells us there are 400 billion bits of information available to us right now. 400 billion bits. But our brains can only take in 2,000 bits in a given moment. So 400 billion, 2,000. There's lots of stuff going on that we're not aware of, and it's a good thing. Can you imagine walking around with 400 billion bits of information going on? We would be in uber overwhelm all the time. In fact, we'd be unable to make sense of anything. And this is the brain's gift to us, its ability to focus on those 2,000 bits that are relevant to us, interpreting their meaning. But it's a gift with consequence. Because here's the thing, how does it know which 2,000 bits to let in? Well, the operative word is relevant. What's relevant to us, and it uses a handy little tool as a filtering device called our beliefs. So how can we leverage that information in order to see through the illusion, the unreal, to the greater reality, the real with a capital R, that lies beneath all appearances, that is everywhere present, that is here now? How can we do that? How can we learn to see and experience the beauty and the joy of the greater mind? Spoiler alert, it takes a shift in perception in how we perceive the world. So we want to move those 2,000 bits and see what else we can perceive. So last week, if you recall, we asked the question, is the universe a friendly place? And you were invited to try filtering your experiences through that question, using the lens that if the universe is friendly, if life is for me, then how is the situation for me? And that question can be pivotal to seeing through the grand illusion. to see it differently, to begin to take action that reflects the new perspective. As Alan Cohen says it, if you don't like the reality you're living in, choose another one and start living as if. Start living it. It seems simple enough, but not so easy. But it's important to take the steps to shift our perspective like that, because our mind takes its role of keeper of the 2,000 bits very seriously, and it tends to focus on what's wrong instead of what's right. In fact, it's run by an evolutionary dynamic called a negativity bias. And we need to overcome that or negotiate that whenever we're seeing something. Because we're designed for this. We're designed to notice and focus on the negative rather than the positive. It's a survival mechanism. Rick Hansen, the author of the book Buddha's Brain, uses the analogy of Velcro and Teflon to explain how this works. Positive things in our field of awareness tend to slide off of us like Teflon. We take them for granted, while focusing on the negative like Velcro as if our life depended upon it, because in fact, it does, yes. It's more important for our survival to see the crocodile lurking in the water than it is to discover if that water is safe enough to drink. That crocodile is the more immediate issue for us, the more immediate threat, you see. And so it sticks to our awareness like Velcro, whereas the cleanliness of the water, the beauty of the surroundings, slides off like Teflon. Now, this survival mechanism is very, very helpful when you want to go for a swim. However, it gets too carried away in our lives, our daily lives, and we can focus only on the negative, you see, feel threatened by it, miss the beauty that is present right now. And it's all thanks to a little almond-shaped organ in the brain called the amygdala. Now, the amygdala is the smoke alarm of the brain. And it's always scanning our world, asking, am I safe? Am I okay? Do I have to worry about this? It filters through old memories. It compares them to what's happening now to determine the present safety. Has this happened before? What does this remind me of? Do I need to be on guard? And it can be very forthcoming with the warnings whenever anything shows up that feels remotely threatening, that reminds us of something from the past that may have been dangerous or unsafe. And the problem arises because of this. The amygdala values speed over accuracy. See that? It would rather be wrong 99 times than miss the one accurate warning. And so if this wonderful safety mechanism in our brain is showing us a crocodile in the water, thank you, amygdala. You see, we need that information to be safe. However, it can also be warning us of something that's reminiscent of a past hurt, something perceived as dangerous due to some kind of faulty story that we've bought into early in our lives, or an unconscious underlying belief that we've taken on. And this is what can get in the way and keep us locked in the grand illusion. And the 2,000 bits that are let into our awareness will furnish ample evidence for us to back up these beliefs. You know what I'm talking about? And we won't even know we're doing it. In fact, if some evidence comes in front of us that disconfirms a belief that we have, it will slide off us like Teflon. It's gone. So we can live in a bubble where our beliefs just keep getting reconfirmed for us. And we see this played out all the time in social media bubbles, don't we? Yes, there's an algorithm that brings us more of what we pay attention to, what we focus on. Have you ever had this show up on your computer screen? Customers who bought this also bought this. Maybe you want it too. It's insidious. My Amazon, whenever I go to Amazon, it's just giving me all these wonderful things to choose from, and Gary will tell you I often say yes to those. Anybody else love Amazon for that reason? Yes, I'm not alone. Okay, thank you. Thank you. So The new economy is called the attention economy. What gets your attention gets you. So once you watch a short video on YouTube on a certain subject, what happens? Oh man, they just line up for you, don't they? And you don't even have to click on them. They just start. Here's the next one. Here's the next one. And do you see what that can do for us? Because we can end up going down a road that is confirming for us exactly that what we're focusing on is true. Here's more evidence. And in a sense, this algorithm-driven dynamic illustrates for us what actually happens in our lives. Life mirrors for us what we're focusing on. And what we're putting out there and projecting shows up in our world, mirrored back. It's like a puppy wandering into a house of mirrors and growling at all these dogs and being surrounded by enemies. That is an interesting sound that keeps showing. So where is your focus and where is your attention? What beliefs are filtering your experiences? Because we take in this tiny amount of data, comparatively speaking. The brain interprets it and edits what comes in using these beliefs as filters, and it neglects to tell us it's doing so. And then we think that's all there is. That's what life is. And we miss the glory of reality, with a capital R, behind it all. This economy of attention is the key for us to unlock the grand illusion, to see past the man behind the curtain. And each one of us gets to choose where we spend our currency of attention. Perception has a lot of clout when it comes to how we experience our lives. You know, University of Virginia psychologists did an experiment with people to test their powers of perception. And they had people stand at the top of a hill on a skateboard or on a box that was the same height as the skateboard, and they had them estimate the grade of the hill. And what they found was that the people standing on the skateboard, what? They estimated the grade to be way steeper than the people standing on a box that was solid. They also had people kicking a soccer ball, trying to get it into the goal. The people who were successful estimated the goal as much larger than the unsuccessful participants. Makes sense. So there's a difference between what we see and what our internal state is that affects us, that affects what we see. Do you see it? A difference between what we see and what is. And it's that inner state that affects what we see. So knowing this, how do we want to spend our attention currency in such a way that benefits our lives? That's the goal here. Well, as the spiritual teacher Gurdjieff would often say, to escape from prison, you must first acknowledge that you are in prison, otherwise escape is impossible. So awareness is the key. Awareness is the number one key. And we begin by becoming aware of where our attention economy is focused. We start to catch ourselves, catch our minds when, our mind when it starts making up stuff. You know what I'm talking about here? Prattling on, chattering away, taking us down an illusory path, making up stories like the most accomplished best-selling fiction writer ever. So question your thoughts, number one. Question your thoughts, because that commentary takes up all the room in our awareness and it doesn't tell the truth. It truly does not. It's being run by a negativity bias to keep us safe with the algorithm dictated by our beliefs. And how do we know when we're stuck in limiting beliefs? Here's how. Our experience will bear it out. If I have a desire and a goal to have a fit, healthy body, but have self-sabotaging actions that thwart that goal, there's a clue. There's a clue, there's a belief lurking in there that is secretly leading the way. If we have a goal, but we have a conflicting belief, though it's unconscious, the belief will win hands down. Every time. So that's a clue for us to pay attention to that. And when we do pay attention to it, we can catch ourselves in the middle of any negativity-biased behavior. We can question what our mind is telling us. And you know how we do that? By consciously shifting to the heart. The heart knows. The heart knows the truth. It's through the heart that we awaken from this 2,000-bit grand illusion. But we have to be willing to see it differently, to spend time in the silence, asking for direction and guidance. We have to say yes to spending our currency of attention, not listening to the news crawl of doom that's going through our minds, but the intuitive wisdom of the heart. It's our divine birthright for this, as expressions of the one presence, as inlets and outlets of spirit, thinking centers in divine mind. It is our birthright to have access to this. And the heart plugs us in to that universal database of divine wisdom within us. Isn't that cool? It's the best. And the heart will not steer us wrong. If the amygdala is warning us of a crocodile in the water, the heart won't tell us to dive in and wrestle it. We can trust its counsel. It's always a nudge in the direction of love. Ludwig Born, 19th century political writer, said this: "Losing an illusion makes you wiser than finding a truth." Think about that. When the illusion slides away, the truth is there already. And the heart can show the way. The heart is the key to awakening from the dream of separation and experiencing the reality of oneness, because the heart is the great unifier. We carry around the antidote to the grand illusion. Turn to the person next to you and say, "Your heart is the antidote." Your heart is the antidote. Isn't that good news? Yes, because why? We've all got one. Everybody comes equipped. This is not woo-woo, by the way. Not at all. HeartMath has done extensive scientific, robust scientific research on the power of the heart, with some very interesting and inspiring results. They once did an experiment where they had people hooked up to heart monitors and then randomly showed them pictures on a screen of either disturbing scenes like car wrecks or beautiful pictures like the beach or babies, things like that. And there was no predictable order as to what kind of picture was being shown or the pattern of timing in between. It was completely random. And this was their prediction. They predicted that when someone was shown a disturbing picture, there would be a certain stress-related response in the heart. And that when they saw a beautiful picture, they would have a positive reaction. They were hooked up to heart monitors. And they were absolutely right. That's exactly what happened. What they were not expecting, though, was that the heart would have the correlated response prior to being shown the picture. 3 to 4 seconds before the picture came on the screen, the heart would react to what was about to be shown. Now let this sink in, because I got to tell you, it blew the minds of the researchers. Totally not what they expected. And here's another thing. The people in the study didn't realize that this was happening. They didn't know that their heart was responding in that way. You see, we're typically unaware that the heart is so present in our experience. See? And that the guidance we seek is closer than our very breath. Think of it as an ally on the path, a guide we can trust, and we can access the immense wisdom of God through the power of the heart. And we open up that door through the practice of gratitude. That's how it works. Gratitude and appreciation. Spend time in deep appreciation, letting that feeling open our hearts and listen for the voice, nudging us from within. It shows us the truth. It helps us to walk through the labyrinth of illusion to the reality of oneness. But don't take my word for it. Don't believe a word I say. If we want transformation in our lives, we don't want to just give lip service to these principles. We want to prove them. Are you up for proving this? Yes. All right, so here are some simple steps to help awaken from the dream of separation. I need a magic wand when I do that. This week, I invite you to become aware of the negativity bias that may be running your life. Become aware of when it's showing up. And when the commentary is racing through your mind, take a moment to step back and question your thoughts. Question them. Thank the amygdala for its tireless guarding duty. Then go to your heart. Feel appreciation. Let it grow and expand, and ask your heart what the truth is, and listen with gratitude. Are you up for this? Yes. Nothing real can be threatened. Nothing unreal exists. Herein lies the peace of God. So it is.